Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the video. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Ryan Beach, and on today's video, we're gonna be talking about a 4-step process that I usually teach to trumpet players to help them develop more health of playing, more projection, a better sound, a bigger sound, just in general, a better approach to the way we play the trumpet. One of the most common things you'll hear when getting feedback about brass playing at some point in your life, if you're a brass player, is you need to use more air. Now, while I think this is true to an extent, I don't think it's the full story, and that's what this video hopes to address. In reality, what we need is, instead of just more air, we need more focused air. We need more intense air. We need more consistent air. All of these things are really what people mean when they say more air, but unfortunately, because we don't have these extra descriptors, oftentimes people end up just shoving as much air through their instrument as they possibly can, which causes things to get unfocused, blown out, and it basically leads to playing that is not able to be sustained over the long term. One of the things that was taught to me in my education was Arnold Jacobs' concept of song in wind. Hear a beautiful song in your head, take a great, easy, full breath, and play the song that you hear in your head. While ultimately I do think this is what great brass playing is, the ease of approach, the ease of production, for some people, there might be a few more steps that can help make this process a bit more effective and understandable. I'm not trying to pretend that what I have to say is above what Arnold Jacobs is saying. Rather, for me, it has helped ingrain and instill those concepts of hearing a great song, taking a great breath, and playing in a way that I've been able to apply to my playing and develop consistency, especially in my setup, but overall in my playing over the course of a few years now. The 4 steps of this process are simple. I'll outline them real quick and then we'll get into the video. The first step is gonna be breath. The second step is gonna be give yourself a place to start. The third step is gonna be commitment. And the fourth step is going to be flow. Let's get into it. The first step of this process is gonna be addressing the way that we breathe. Now, a very common way of approaching breathing on a brass instrument is to breathe as much as we can and to breathe starting at the bottom all the way to the top. So let's all do that together real quick. Ready? How did that feel? Probably not great, probably full of tension. As you could hear in my breath, of course I was over exaggerating a little bit, but as you could hear in my breath, there was a ton of tension in that breath. Now, to alleviate that, we just have to shift the way we think about our breath. For me, the way I talk about it is to 1, sit all the way back in your chair. Number 2, the next point of contact is gonna be your shoulder blades. We're gonna try to make it so the next thing we feel is our shoulder blades so that we can possibly get our arm behind our spine. What this is gonna do is put our spine in its natural curve that exists when we stand up, and it's gonna get everything stacked on top of each other and open. So from there, I think about my back expanding toward the back of the chair. So we go, for me, if doing it correctly, it almost feels as if there's a balloon inside of you expanding in all different directions. There's a second component of this step of breathing, but before we get into it, I want to do a little experiment. I want you to pretend you have your instrument in your hands, and I want you to take a breath. Ready? Now, as you're breathing, if you continue breathing, I want you to pay attention. Somewhere inside or around your mouth, it's gonna get cold. I want you to pay attention to where it gets cold. Wherever it's feeling cold, Arnold Jacobs described that as the point of resistance. So if you are breathing like this, it's gonna be cold somewhere inside of your mouth. You should be able to feel it after enough breaths. I'm a humongous believer that the point of resistance, the way Arnold Jacobs taught it, this way I learned it from that, is gonna be the point of resistance needs to be as far forward as possible on the lips. So like this. So as you're breathing in, feel it on the lips and then release in exactly the same spot. What this is gonna do is it's gonna get the air forward and ready to be released. not forced out of your mouth, but released. This is going to be a humongous help in adding consistency to your articulations, and it's going to make sure that everything is nice and easy when you breathe and release the sound. All right, the second step is going to be give yourself a place to start. This is super, super simple. Just like a conductor would give us a prep beat, we're going to give ourselves a prep beat. So, right? Super easy, but because in playing an instrument, there are many different things that have to coordinate, we got to make sure that we give it a place and a time to coordinate. And so whether it's a slow tempo, 1, 2, 3, or it's a fast tempo, 1, 2, 3. We can think some sort of prep beat and then releasing exactly when the downbeat would come. If it's too fast, we can think in 2. 1, 2. It's super easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. We just want to make sure that it's in time and it's relatively easy. Of course, with the same kind of breath we took in the first step, but now we're adding an element of timing to increase consistency all the more. The third step of this process is, for me, arguably the most important step, and it's going to be committing to making the best sound you possibly can when you play the note that you're going to play. All I mean by this is it's very common, I think, for people to want to test the waters and feel how things go before they fully go. They'll say, oh, I didn't miss that note, now I can go for it. Instead of, I don't care if I miss it, here we go. Now, of course, when we do the I don't care if I miss it, here we go version, if we do miss it, everybody in the world hears it. But if I'm speaking to trumpet players, you play the trumpet, you're gonna miss notes, and people are gonna hear it. We have to accept that about our instrument and move on. So in order to make sure that things are consistent, we have to start approaching the instrument consistently so we can learn what to do with that. Now, I have a bit of a protocol that I like to teach people, or I like to walk them through rather, that really helps us understand what it means to project and to do it consistently with our best sound. This exercise is a 3-step process that is a bit of a visualization exercise, but hopefully it serves as a way that if you're unsure of what your best sound sounds like, we can use this to help explore what that is and remind ourselves what sound we're trying to create most of the time on the trumpet. The first step of this visualization exercise is going to be setting a stand right in front of us, or maybe a computer monitor, or maybe it's a wall, but something that's close to us, only a few feet away. And we're gonna think, I will project from my bell to that stand. I'm gonna fill the space, do my best to do that, and see what that sounds like. I'm gonna do this on a G major scale. Here's what that sounds like. Next, hopefully you're in a room with windows or something like that, and we're gonna look outside to the houses that are across the street, or maybe there's trees, or maybe there's a park, or maybe there's other buildings, but we're gonna look outside and we're gonna think, instead of projecting to the stand, now I'm gonna think my sound is traveling from my bell to that thing across the street, or that building, or that park. I'm now filling the space between my bell and that thing I'm looking at that could be 100 feet away, 1,000 feet away, however far. This is what that would sound like. And then finally, the third step of this process is we're gonna try to think of something that is incredibly far away, miles and miles and miles. Maybe it's your school, maybe it's your house, maybe it's a vacation spot your family has always gone on. For me, I'm going to use the Vulcan here in Birmingham. It's a well-known landmark, and I'm gonna be thinking about that. And now we're thinking my sound is going to project from here to the Vulcan, miles and miles and miles away. I don't hear my sound first at the bell. I'm visualizing hearing my sound all the way over there first. This is what that would sound like. Hopefully you heard a difference between the 3 different examples of your playing. In mine, what I hope you heard was that as each one progressed, it got a little bit more open, a little bit more dense, a little bit more complex. This is going to be for a few reasons. One, basically the exercise teaches you what it is to project. When you're playing in your practice room all the time, staring at a stand, guess which version you're playing like all the time. But when you are fortunate enough to have a job, or you can play in a hall or something like that at school, you can think really far away. You're thinking of filling the space. This is an exercise to basically accomplish the same thing. The second thing this exercise does is, now that we are projecting our sound really far away, our production follows. Our airstream is more insistent, it's more connected, it's more controlled. Hopefully these things lead to just a healthier approach on the trumpet altogether. The main thing I want to encourage you with right here at this point is, if you think far away and you make that sound, you've proven to yourself that that sound is something you're capable of making all the time. So if you play the trumpet like that, you will sound like that. It's not an accident. It's actually a result of that kind of production that creates that sound. So the next step we have to do is memorize that sound that we made thinking far away. And instead of trying to think miles and miles and miles away, rather we're going to think, I know that sound. I will create that sound all the time, and the same kind of production will follow. The first 3 steps of this process are dedicated solely to the first note. We want to breathe well. We want to give ourselves a place to start, and we want to commit 100% to that beautiful sound that's projected really far away. Once we have that first note, the next thing we're going to do is move on to the 4th step, which is flow. Do not let anything mess with your airstream. This is going to allow us to get a great sound to start with, and as long as nothing messes with our airstream, we will continue that sound, that kind of playing, which will lead us to having healthy playing all the time. I've seen this process work for many, many, many trumpet players. Without exception, easier is the word that is used to describe the feeling after we go through this process. It's not a magic bullet, but what it can do is show us what we're capable of so that we can start to have a bit of a blueprint that we will use in our regular practice to help us ground whether or not we're moving closer to that or further away. If you're looking to improve your projection, your sound, color, the core, the density, or just the purity of your sound, I highly recommend you check out and try out this process, and I hope it works for you. If it does, you should let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching the video. That's going to be all we have. If this video was helpful for you, I'd appreciate it if you would like the video, and do not forget to subscribe if you feel like you want to see more of this kind of content, or if you want to join a community of people who are striving to be the best players, musicians, and people that they can be. If you have any questions about this process, or you want me to walk you through it, or you want to learn about my approach to practice, or just any kinds of things like that, I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can schedule a free 30-minute call where I can help hopefully answer any questions you have. And if you want to work together, we can set that up as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. Always remember, stay strong, be kind to yourself, never stop growing, and we'll see you in the next video.